Hey guys, and welcome to game number 51 out of 100 of the Mack vs. Machine series, where I'll be playing 100 games of Scrabble against the top online bot, HastyBot. We're now officially past the halfway point of this series, and the record currently stands at 34-16 in our favor, so it's been a very good first half, but of course, HastyBot will be very eager to get revenge in the second half, so we need to be very much on our toes and playing some good Scrabble going forward to ensure that we close out the series on a good note. Now, before I jump in, just a quick general announcement. Actually, two general announcements. Number one, as I mentioned before, I'm going to be slightly reducing the frequency of uploads going into the rest of the summer, just because there are a lot of major Scrabble tournaments happening throughout the summer, most of which I'll be playing, and also several of which I anticipate many of my viewers will be playing. So I won't have as much time to record the videos, and presumably viewers won't have as much time to be watching. So I'll try to keep up 3 times a week, probably Monday, Wednesday, Friday for now, but I may have to go down to twice a week later this summer. If I do that, I'll be sure to announce in one of my videos. And the second announcement is I do apologize. There's been a little bit of a delay on my end in responding to some of the comments. I was actually traveling for the last week or two in the Northeast and playing a Scrabble tournament in Niagara Falls, and I just got back yesterday, and I will be sure to respond to all of those comments later this week. So once again, apologize for the delay, but I will get back to all of you very soon. Now, without further ado, let's go ahead and jump right into game number 51. And let's see, it looks like we're going to be first, and we've got a blank, which is always good. Little consonant heavy of a rack otherwise, though. Probably looking at an exchange. There actually really isn't that much we can do if we don't exchange. We could play sell for 12, keeping NN blank, but I don't think that's worth it. Sell also takes a lot of hooks. For instance, it takes an I and an O, and I think it's going to benefit him. Keeping NN blank doesn't really put us in a great position to take advantage of that, so I'm going to exchange definitely both L's and an N. I think I'm going to keep this C. It probably improves our bingo percentage a little bit, and also, as opposed to EN blank, our bingos will score more when we have the C, just because it is a 3-pointer, so I think it's worth keeping here. Yeah, I'm going to change 3. Okay, he plays Lomier. And now, do we have a bingo here? Geomancy, almost. Uncomely, that should be good. That's going to score pretty well through this L here. That's 88. Unless there's a double through this A, which is possible, with like ANCY or something. It's worth just quickly going through the alphabet here, because a double would be a pretty big miss if there is one. Naumachy, almost. Naumachy, if our E was an A. Not seeing it at the moment. Yeah, I don't think so. Okay, so he plays Fichu. Not a bad rack for us here. Diagnose, Agonized with an N, Godishas with a T. None of which are floating, unfortunately. So do we not have a bingo? Probably not. Yeah, I don't think there's anything through this M, or this M for that matter. Nothing through the R. So probably we're going to just have to settle for some sort of mediocre play through this F to at least score something. Fogey is an option. Scores 27, keeps ADS. I'd prefer to keep the E, but I don't see a great way to do that. I definitely don't like Fidge. It scores 3 more than Fogey, but AOS is definitely worse than ADS. Generally, it's better to keep 2 consonants and a vowel than 2 vowels and a consonant. It just, if you don't bingo, it at least keeps you in better position to score something. Whereas with AOS, you're often going to end up having like a 4, maybe even 5 vowel rack that doesn't bingo, and you just sort of get into this vicious cycle of either fishing and possibly not hitting or having to exchange. So it's not a road I want to go down. I think I'd rather just play Fogey here. Yeah, I don't think there's anything better. So let's go ahead and do that. Okay, he plays Sod. How about now? Do we have anything? Anything through this R? I don't think there's an 8 in that rack. I see skinhead with an H, sand-like with an L, kyanized with a Y. Oh, it almost, yeah, doesn't really almost fit, actually. Yeah, there's several 2s. That would be phony there, but it's fun to at least look in those spots. It's always worth looking, because you never know. Sometimes those bingos do fit in the most unlikely positions with tons of overlaps. Yeah, I don't think we're going to have anything. There's nothing through this O or the U. I guess Awk is... actually, no, we can't play Awk. Never mind, that makes KO. That definitely won't work, but we could play KI, or KA over here, rather. Yeah, it's not bad. I mean, it scores 24. DEINS is a really, really good leave. I don't see a way to score ton of points. We almost have things like Doskin, but that makes UD, so that's not going to work. Do we have anything here with like a K that gets to the double? I don't think so. That would score a lot, but not going to quite work. Yeah, I think just KA is probably best. It also sets up another line here for 7s with NAE or SAE, which is nice for us. So I think I'm going to go ahead and play that. Okay, he plays ear. We have Bedouins. Oh, and it's going to play with by. Okay. That's probably the only place. Curb is no good spelled like that. Unbusied. I don't think that is a word. Yeah, I think just Bedouins and by has got to be correct. Alright, he bingoes back with airlines. So we've got a pretty tight game. We're up 8. Not the worst draw here. It's definitely not going to bingo, but we have some scoring potential. Woolhat or Woodlot we're close to. Woodlot would be nice here, but unfortunately we can't do it because of UW. Anything with an H? Hood is pretty mediocre. WOLT is not a good leave. I guess Hollow here is decent. 32 and keeps DT. That's not bad. Maybe something through this U that would triple the H. Don't see it. Slow down. No, nothing from this S that I'm seeing. Whoosh doesn't reach the triple. Yeah, I think just Hollow is probably fine. So I'm going to go ahead and do that. Yeah, I'm just not really seeing a way to score any more points, and DT is not a bad leave. Okay, so he plays Taxa for 41. We have a blank and the S. So overall, this is still a very good draw. Unfortunately, we don't have any vowels. I don't think exchanging will be needed, because we can certainly play love. We could also keep the V and play something like dup. That's probably better, just because it scores a lot more. If we draw one vowel here, then we should be in decent shape to bingo. I don't want to play Veld. It gives up too many points. It's a 12-point sacrifice. I guess it is fairly defensive. I mean, it does put this D there, which looks bad, but the W is already there. So Veld is actually not crazy. Just because our bingo percentage is going to be significantly higher, the pool is pretty even between vowels and consonants. But there's certainly a chance, or a better chance at least after dup, that we don't draw a vowel than after Veld. And I don't actually mind blocking this bingo line because I have PST blank. I'm going to be bingoing sooner or later, and actually this works really well with this O I'm just realizing now because of post words. We have a really good shot at hitting like a 100-point double-double there next turn. So I think this is the right play because it's sort of going to create a distraction down here on the bottom, and I'm actually kind of hoping that HastyBot plays over here because, like I said, if he does, then I'm going to have free reign at this line here. And PST blank is like the ideal leave for not only hitting this line, but scoring a lot there. Because if I hit a double-double with post, I'm going to be scoring like 100 points and pretty much winning the game on the spot. Maybe not on the spot, but really taking a stranglehold on the game at the minimum. So I think I'm going to go for this. And that gambit worked about as well as it could have. He uses the D for not that many points, and I have postages, pottages, post-game. I guess, yeah, post-game doesn't take an S, I don't think. Not that it really matters, because there are no S's unseen. So does it really matter what I do? Certainly postages versus pottages or portages is irrelevant. Probably this is best, because if I play post-game, I'm definitely giving back bigger overlaps with this E next to the double word. It's generally better to try to put consonants next to those squares. So yeah, probably any of postages, portages, pottages. Like I said, it really doesn't matter. I'll put the blank here because he's pretty likely to play here and overlap on this double word, and he'll score less if the second S is the blank. So I think it makes sense to put the blank there. So I guess I'll play postages because of that, since if I played it the other way, I'd have to put the real S there. So yeah, let's go ahead and do this. Okay, so he does play reposing. So I guess if I had played post-game, he may not have actually bingoed. So a little bit of an unfortunate turn of events there, but I still think we made the right play. Let's see, this is actually not a bad rack to have. It's vowel heavy, but the pool is very consonant heavy, and there's a lot of garbage out. There's a J, a Q, 4 T's, a W, a Y, so a lot of stuff we want to avoid. So I kind of like the idea of playing a small number of tiles here, because I normally talk about how turnover is a good thing, but that's more early in the game or later in the game if there's blanks unseen. Now there's actually nothing we want. I mean, the Z would maybe be nice for scoring, but the other stuff is mostly things we want to avoid. There's no blanks or S's. The Q is actually not a horrible tile here if you have vowels because of this U. So we don't have to actually be scared of the Q, really. Of course, if he blocks that spot, then the Q could really be a problem. But I think we want to just be playing something like Rive. We could play Give. It's 3 more. Leaves this R open. Maybe this R is not a big deal, just because of how consonant heavy it is. I don't love leaving this E open, though. That'll definitely increase his average score a bit. Maybe Derive, actually. Yeah, Derive. That scores... Yeah, those extra 9 points are a lot. I think Derive has got to be correct, because it takes out that E. AE is a really good leave with that pool. And like I said, there aren't too many disaster scenarios, because as long as he doesn't block this U, if I draw the Q, I should be okay there for next turn. And he's not that likely to use the U. It doesn't go too well with this pool. So I think Derive should be good. Let's see what happens. Okay, so he plays Quart. He takes a small lead. 5 left. We have a decent amount of time still, which is good. The pool, again, pretty consonant heavy. This is not a bad draw. I guess we could just play Jaunty. I mean, that's probably best. It empties the bag, which is not ideal since I'll have perfect endgame knowledge. But, I mean, we're going up 41. EO is an outstanding leave. Again, normally EO is not a great leave because it's vowel heavy, but when you have 4 vowels and 8 consonants unseen, it's a great leave. Of course, if I happen to draw like 4 vowels, I'm actually happy because then he'll have no vowels and I'm easily going to win because he just won't be able to really unload his tiles in the endgame. Yeah, I think it's going to be pretty tough for this to lose, guys. I mean, the pool is just too clunky. I don't see any big scoring threats he could have or any good out and twos. Like Gift, it just doesn't really score much. Maybe wins through this I. That'll about tie the game, but I'll still have tempo. I think this is going to win almost 100%. He actually does play wins. And, okay, this is actually a situation where I maybe need to be a little bit careful, because he's threatening Edic to go out. Does he have other outs? Odic. Okay. I could probably just play a foot and win. Right? Because, let's see. I'm probably better off playing Goof, but like, let me just check if this wins. So that's 26. I'm up 25. He'd need 21 to tie. Edik is 18. That would lose by 3. Tick plays above a foot for 16. That's less. So a foot should win, unless I'm missing a better out for him, which I don't think I am. Kiri is no good, so he can't play there. KAC is no good. He can't play crit. So, yeah, probably Goof is just better, though. Is there a way I can block both? I just don't want to somehow accidentally lose it. Because yeah, he has Edik here, too. I can probably block both somehow. Like, maybe I can play Toe. I just don't really want to mess with this, I don't think. Given that spread doesn't really matter. But yeah, Goof probably just nets a few more, does it? Let's see. 9, so 24, I go up 23. He gets 9. Plus 8, 17. Yeah, that wins by 6. So yeah, Goof at least will net a little bit more than a foot. Yeah, I think that's just fine. I mean, again, probably, like, actually his T might be the best play because it saves a foot. But, yeah, that actually is probably the best play, right? Now that I think of it. Because he can't really block this and also with AG. Yeah, I mean, he doesn't have another out. So I guess I might as well play this. Why not? Yep. Okay. So, saved ourselves a little spread there. 468 to 451. I decided to get a little bit cute. Of course, if this were like the last game of Nationals or something, I probably would just play a foot. Like if it were hypothetically I just needed to win, I would probably recount the whole game and just play that because I'm more confident in my math that I'll win by 3 after that than I would be that there's no other out on the board somehow that I'm missing after T. So if it were a super high-stakes game where I just needed to win, I probably would just play a foot to be more conservative. But in a series like this where I'm trying to play well and have good content, I figured it was worth trying to be a little bit fancy there. Once again, the idea was after T, he can't go out, and he can block my play of a foot down below. He could, I think he'd actually have to just play like TI or lit. But then I can go out with a foot over here and ag, and that'll also win quite easily. I think if he plays lit, he's actually... Well, no, he's not C-stuck. Actually, he probably is, yeah, because if he plays lit, then I think he's actually C-stuck, because I would just block Mack over here. Oh, no, he has ice. He has ice. So, yeah, I guess after lit, I would still just have to go out with a foot. But, of course, that'll win easily. So, yeah, T is almost definitely my best in-game play. But yeah, let's go through this game because it was a really interesting game. Certainly ended up being a high-scoring and hard-fought battle. So let's see. At the beginning, yeah, this exchange looks pretty clear. Sell is it's just not worth it. Again, it's only 12 points, and then blank is so much worse than CE and blank, and it gives back a lot more to HastyBot. So exchanging clearly called for. He bingos with Lomir. Numeracy. I didn't see that one. I should have at least seen it since I was looking through the A for possible double-doubles, but it doesn't quite reach the second double, so it would not have been a better play than the one I made of Uncomely. Also, honorable mention to Gynecium here, which is another cool 8 that would have been available. I didn't look through this eye once I saw Uncomely, because I knew anything there would clearly be worse than Uncomely, but I should have at least seen Numeracy. So, not an error, per se, because, of course, Uncomely is the best play, but I did look through that A and go through the alphabet, so I wish I had seen that. Fichu, yeah, that looks pretty good for him. Fusaria is an option to score a little bit more on the double-double, keeping an H, but ARS is so strong, and it also sets up this double-double line nicely for him, so I think that's got to be the best play. Fogey looks good. Yeah, I saw Fidge and Fadge, but they score 3 more points. As I mentioned, ADS, especially with an E floating, is so much more balanced than iOS or AOS, and Fogey is definitely worth the 3-point sacrifice. Sod, yeah, this is one of those annoying racks where it's like you either bingo if you have the right tile, like if you had an N for Sad Irons or something like that, or you don't bingo and you're not scoring a lot of points. Sod seems fine. You could play Dosai, but AIRS probably has enough of a advantage in terms of bingo percentage that it's worth it to give up the couple points. So yeah, Sod looks reasonable. Okay, I was correct. There are no bingos here. Luckily, I didn't accidentally play KO. Ka looks good. I didn't consider need, but I think it's pretty clearly worse. The one benefit is it does set up this S-hook for myself, but it's actually not good because he just played Sod, and if I look at that, he's extremely likely to have another S, because Sod only scored 22 points, and I have to imagine in almost all cases that if he didn't have another S, he would have not played Sod and played something for a few less points, maybe under Lomir, that would keep the S. So given I think he's way more likely than average, if not almost guaranteed to have an S, need is actually not a smart play, even though I have one myself, since I'll be giving him first dibs at using the hook. So just being patient with Ka and keeping a really strong leave looks good here. Yeah, he's got another rack, and turns out I did block re-raise, so need would have ended quite poorly. And yeah, this is what I don't love about fishing sometimes. It's like, if you don't bingo, you're just sort of stuck in this, as I called it earlier, a vicious cycle, where you don't really have a better option than to keep fishing, because you don't want to just blow up the rack with, like, easier or something for very few points. That doesn't make sense. So you kind of have no better option than to do what he did, which is keep fishing and hope to hit bingos. But it's just a very high variance kind of thing where if you hit it, that's great, but if you don't, then you just end up scoring like 15 points after 15 points after 12 points over and over again. And if your opponent doesn't give you a bingo and they just keep scoring, you're quickly going to see a big deficit build up. But here he does get a bingo down finally. He has airlines and, oh, I didn't see out Hollow. That's a cool play. Hollow probably still a bit better just because out Howl gives back a pretty big line on the top. It does at least create two big spots, because now there'd be a line on top as well as on the bottom with this S and Bedouins, but the L on top is probably quite a bit easier to use. It's pretty easy for him to get a big play by overlapping over here. Whereas with this S, I'd pretty much, it's going to be very hard to triple through an S in the second spot. It would have to be like ISO or something like that, and keeping a D, it's not likely to hit. It's not that easy either to get a 7 starting with the S for a ton of points. So it does create two spots, which can be nice. The idea being, if your opponent uses one, you'll be able to use the other. But in this case, the top spot does seem considerably better. And I think Hollow is fine. It kind of closes things down, keeps things a little bit tighter. And I'm taking a 40-point lead, so I feel like that's a better way to play. If I were down like 40 here, definitely down 60, I think I would play out Howl. But in this case, I think Hollow is quite reasonable. Taxa here is probably correct. IPRR is not a good leave, though. I'm wondering if he should consider Wrapped. Axe suffers from the same problem as Taxa. That doesn't really make sense. But yeah, Wrapped, I mean, it keeps IRX. The good thing is he can have a big X play here next turn for 36. Assuming he draws an A, an E, or an O. So that's one benefit of Wrapped. Yeah, I think Wrapped maybe makes a little bit more sense. Like, Taxa, you tie the game, but you really had a big disadvantage here. You're keeping IPRR, which, I mean, there are E's left, which at least helps. Because, like, if you draw an E, then it's actually a pretty good bingo rack. And the P is a very good tile for this spot that I ended up using through the O and Sod. So it's not terrible. There's also Wiper, assuming I don't block the bottom when he draws an E. So it can be salvaged, but it still has a lot of potential to go south. On the other hand, Wrapped, yeah, you do keep EX for 36, but that's sort of a slow plan, like scoring 36, and then who knows what your rack will look like at that point. I mean, if you draw E and then a few other vowels, you're not really going to want to be playing EX, keeping like 4 vowels and a consonant or something. So it's kind of a slow plan, and I think you probably do want to be building more towards a bingo here. Like with a blank and an S unseen, probably someone's going to need to bingo to win the game. So yeah, I think just playing Taxa and then trying to hope for an E and a decent bingo rack makes sense. Oh, I missed PST over here. Yeah, that's... is that best? I mean, it's a lot more points. There's also PSST over here. Yeah, this is a notoriously difficult word to spot just because it has the 3 consonants in a row. It's actually debatable because, as we saw in the game, my play has so much upside because I'm really likely to hit a big bingo through this O. And anything I hit there on a double-double is going to score 100 points. And I'm probably, I mean, with all those E's and A's and I's, like, I'm probably legitimately 50% or something to hit something there. Maybe even more, I don't know. But I'm quite likely to hit something there. PST does give me a lead immediately, but VLD blank, there's just not a lot of future on this board. I give up the P for this spot. I don't have a tile that goes in front of AE. And with like J, Q, V, W, Y unseen, VLD could really take a turn for the worse. Like, I'm going to need to rely on probably drawing IE or AE to play Waved or Wive to bail myself out. Yeah, I honestly think I like Veld here, guys. Just, again, this spot. If not for this spot, then yeah, probably PST, but this spot is so strong. And he's pretty unlikely to go there. Like, he's going to use this D or maybe this U up here in Uncomely far more often, I think, than he's going to use this O, just given there's no H's or P's, or I guess there is one P unseen, so he could potentially have that P, but still, he's way more likely to use the bottom and leave me that spot. I think Veld it's aggressive, but I think it's a good play still. So he plays Drib, and yeah, my plan comes to fruition. Any of these plays are fine. As it turns out, I would have been better off playing post-game because he was able to bingo with either reposing or spongy or through this S, and post-game wouldn't have given him a bingo back. But of course, I can't know that during the game. I felt it was better to not give back as strong overlaps through that tile. But maybe at this point, I should be worried more about bingoing. I guess floating ES is a little bit more dangerous than floating EM. He's more likely to bingo through an S than an M. So maybe I should have just played post-game and allowed some more scoring overlaps. But I still think, because I don't want to just give him a 40-point play there, because I'm not up so much that he's going to need to bingo twice. If he gets a big play and then a bingo after that, he could be in good position. So I still think postages is fine. Just in this case, it did end up helping him. Derive looks good. Evader and Varied are also options. I guess Evader is also fine. I'm not worried about this E over here. I mean, with that pool, given how constant heavy it is, he's extremely unlikely to have a bingo from that E. That's really not something I should be worried about. AE versus IE, I don't think it matters too much. There are two A's and one I, but generally A's, if you have to have duplicate vowels, are better than I's. Yeah, I don't think this makes a big difference. I just generally prefer the A, and it certainly works better with tiles like the W or the Z or the Y than the I does, so I think Derive is fine. I probably should have at least considered Evader a little bit more than I did. Excuse me. But I think Derive is quite reasonable. Wow, interesting rack for him. Yeah, Court has got to be right. I mean, this makes no sense. The extra vowel is really valuable in that pool. CEZ is a pretty dangerous leave. Like, the Z is good for scoring, but look at all these consonants unseen. This could really land him in some trouble. I wonder if he should play Cuz, actually. Because, yeah, I actually think he should play Cuz, because if you think about it, this U could be a really valuable tile for me, right? Because I could have something like Juddy there that'll be a real killer for him. Also, not only that, if I have Juddy or something, there's just not really any other spot for me to go. So I'm either scoring 50 through that U or really having a hard time. And it's pretty unlikely I'm going to block this spot for Court, because I'd have to end in the T, and there's already 4 more T's unseen. So, like, there just aren't a lot of words I could have there. So that's pretty likely to stay open. Yeah, I think actually, Cuz keeping the more flexible vowel-heavy leave, given this pool, is actually better. It may even be significantly better, but I think it's got to be at least a little bit better. So likely a strategical mistake by the bot. Yeah, Jaunty I think has got to be right. Oh, and Joy is there too, which I didn't see. But I think, I mean, this also empties the bag. So Jaunty's got to be better. It's 8 more, and EO is a better, much better leave actually than AT in this case. Again, not in general, of course. AT is more balanced, but given that there are 3 T's and in general too many consonants unseen here, I am better off keeping 2 vowels. And as we saw, the 8 points did really come in handy, so I think Jaunty is perfectly reasonable. Again, I don't love emptying the bag. But in this case, I'm scoring so much, and there just aren't that many big scoring threats. I also am just giving up way too many points with J, and also allowing plays like Futz through this U that'll allow him to score well, and also offload a bunch of his consonants. So it is nice to take away the U from him as well. Yeah, Jaunty, he does get down wins. This is the one play I saw that I thought I might have to worry about a little bit, but in this case I was able to deal with it pretty easily. Once again, I could have just taken the very simple route of playing a foot, which I probably would have done if I just knew I needed a win, and it was a very high-stakes game. But I am better off playing T over here for 4 points, which looks kind of weird, but the idea, again, being that he can now not go out. I've blocked all 3 of his outplays at once. He had Edic from the Ian wins over here. He had Edic from the Ian derive, and he also had Odic from the O in reposing. And what I did is I managed to block all 3 of those at the same time, while also saving a foot for next turn. And he can't block both a foot and ab and a foot and ag at the same time, and he can't really score anything. He does the best he can, which is pick, and I go out with a foot and win by a score of 468 to 451. So a really tight game and a really good game overall to open the second half of this 100-game series. I think this was a pretty solid game by both players. I don't have any turns specifically that I see that I regret. I think for him, his biggest mistake may have actually been court, just because, as I said, Cuz would have given him so much more flexibility, and it would have actually blocked Jaunty for me, so it's hard to say what would have happened, but I think I would have been in some trouble if he had played Cuz. So, as is often the case, a strategical mistake in the pre-endgame does maybe prove to be the most costly point in the game, but yeah, otherwise I think this was a really clean game on both sides. So really happy with this one, really great way to start off the second 50 games, and we now improve to 35-16. So we are rolling right along, and yeah, that's it for this one. Thanks guys, as always, for watching, and I will look forward to seeing you all in game 52 shortly. Thanks guys, have a good one, bye bye.